For most people, dinosaurs are defined by size. When someone imagines a dinosaur, they usually picture something enormous. A tyrannosaurus standing over a forest, a brachiosaurus towering above the trees, a triceratops weighing several tons. Size has become so connected to the idea of dinosaurs that it is easy to forget that many dinosaurs were not giants at all. Some were the size of dogs, some were the size of chickens, some were even smaller. In fact, if you follow dinosaur evolution from beginning to end, one of the most important long-term trends is not growth, it is reduction. The story of how some dinosaurs became smaller is one of the reasons dinosaurs are still alive today. The first dinosaurs appeared roughly 230 million years ago during the late Triassic period. They did not enter a world where they immediately dominated everything around them. The planet was already filled with other reptiles occupying many of the major ecological roles. Early dinosaurs were relatively modest animals. Some were predators, some were herbivores. Most were not particularly large by later dinosaur standards. One of the earliest known dinosaurs was Eoraptor. It was only about a meter long and weighed far less than the giant dinosaurs that would appear later. Another early dinosaur, Coelophysis, was slender and lightweight. These animals were successful because they were fast, adaptable, and efficient. Their success was not based on overwhelming size. Over time, certain dinosaur groups began evolving larger bodies. This was especially true during the Jurassic period. The sauropods became some of the largest land animals that ever lived. Species such as Diplodocus, Brachiosaurus, and later Argentinosaurus reached sizes that no land mammal has ever matched. Being large had obvious advantages. Bigger animals could defend themselves more easily. They could travel longer distances in search of food. They could process enormous quantities of vegetation. Large size became one of the defining features of several dinosaur groups. When people think of the age of dinosaurs, they are usually thinking about these giants. But that picture only tells part of the story. While some dinosaurs were getting larger, others were moving in the opposite direction. This trend was especially important among theropods, the group that included predators such as Tyrannosaurus. Not every theropod became a giant hunter. Some remained relatively small. Others became even smaller over millions of years. This process was not random. Smaller bodies created opportunities that large animals could not exploit. A giant predator needs enormous amounts of food. A smaller animal can survive on far less. It can move through dense vegetation. It can hunt insects, small reptiles, and other prey that would not be worth pursuing for a larger predator. Different body sizes allowed different species to occupy different ecological niches. As the Jurassic period continued, some small theropods began developing features that would eventually become associated with birds. Feathers are one of the most important examples. For a long time, feathers were thought to be exclusive to birds. Fossil discoveries have changed that view completely. Many small dinosaurs possessed feathers long before true birds appeared. These feathers likely evolved for insulation, display, or other functions before they became useful for flight. Smaller bodies made insulation more important. Large animals naturally retain heat better than small ones. As certain dinosaurs became smaller, feathers provided a way to maintain body temperature. This relationship between body size and feathers became increasingly significant. Smaller animals lose heat more quickly. They also tend to have faster metabolisms. Feathers help solve some of the challenges created by shrinking body size. The fossil record shows that many dinosaur lineages experienced long-term reductions in size. Rather than becoming larger generation after generation, these animals gradually became lighter and more specialized. Their skeletons became more efficient. Their limbs became adapted for different forms of movement. Their bodies became increasingly suited for active lifestyles. One of the most important developments was the emergence of paravians, a group of small theropod dinosaurs closely related to birds. These animals often possessed feathers, lightweight bodies, and anatomical features that would later play a role in flight. Species such as Microraptor demonstrate how different these dinosaurs had become from the giant predators often associated with the dinosaur name. Microraptor was small enough to fit comfortably in a person's arms. It possessed feathers not only on its forelimbs, but also on its hind limbs. It represents a stage in evolution where dinosaurs were experimenting with entirely new ways of moving through the environment. By this point, dinosaurs had already been evolving for well over 100 million years. They were not static creatures. They were constantly adapting to new environments and new challenges. Some became giants, others became specialized small animals. Evolution was pushing different groups in different directions. The transition toward bird-like forms was not a sudden event. There was no single moment when a dinosaur stopped being a dinosaur and became a bird. Instead, there was a long sequence of small changes spread across millions of years. Body size reduction was one of the most important parts of that process. Flight becomes much more practical when an animal is lightweight. Large flying animals exist, but there are limits. A shrinking body creates new possibilities. Smaller animals require less lift. They can maneuver more easily. They can take advantage of habitats that would be inaccessible to larger species. As these dinosaurs became smaller, their bones also changed. Many evolved hollow bones that reduced weight while maintaining strength. Their arms became longer. Their feathers became more sophisticated. Their muscles and balance systems adapted to increasingly complex movements. Archaeopteryx is often discussed because it illustrates a transitional stage in this story. It possessed feathers and wings, but it also retained many dinosaur features. Looking at Archaeopteryx makes it clear that birds did not appear suddenly. They emerged gradually from dinosaur ancestors. Throughout the Cretaceous period, these trends continued. Small feathered dinosaurs became increasingly diverse. Some hunted insects, some likely climbed trees. Others occupied ecological roles that had little resemblance to the giant dinosaurs dominating popular culture. Meanwhile, giant dinosaurs continued thriving. Tyrannosaurus rex appeared relatively late in dinosaur history and became one of the largest land predators ever known. Triceratops, Edmontosaurus, and many other large species dominated North American ecosystems. Similar giants existed elsewhere around the world. This means that the end of the dinosaur era was not defined by universal shrinking. Large dinosaurs and small dinosaurs existed side by side. The difference was that one particular branch of the dinosaur family tree had already become small enough to survive a disaster that would destroy most of the others. Around 66 million years ago, an asteroid struck Earth near what is now the Yucatan Peninsula. The consequences were catastrophic. Fires spread across large areas. Dust and debris entered the atmosphere. Sunlight was reduced. Food chains began collapsing. Large animals were especially vulnerable during this period. They required substantial amounts of food to survive. When ecosystems began failing, those requirements became major disadvantages. Predators struggled because prey populations declined. Herbivores struggled because plant life was disrupted. Smaller animals often have advantages during environmental crises. They reproduce more quickly. They require fewer resources. They can exploit a wider variety of food sources. These characteristics can make survival more likely during periods of instability. The dinosaurs that survived were not the giants. They were the small feathered descendants of the shrinking theropod lineages that had been evolving for tens of millions of years. Those survivors eventually became modern birds. This is one of the reasons the phrase "the dinosaurs went extinct" is only partially accurate. The non-avian dinosaurs disappeared. Birds survived. Every sparrow, eagle, pigeon, and crow represents a living branch of the dinosaur family tree. Modern birds still carry evidence of their dinosaur ancestry. Their skeletons reveal similarities to small theropod dinosaurs. Their feathers evolved from structures that appeared long before modern birds existed. Their eggs, nesting behaviors, and many aspects of their anatomy connect them directly to dinosaur ancestors. The reduction in body size that occurred over millions of years was not merely a side story within dinosaur evolution. It was one of the reasons this lineage survived at all. If dinosaurs had remained exclusively large animals, they might have vanished completely when the asteroid struck. Instead, one branch had already moved in a different direction. It had become smaller, lighter, more flexible, and more adaptable. That branch endured. Today, people often separate birds from dinosaurs in everyday conversation. This makes sense from a practical standpoint because birds look very different from animals such as Tyrannosaurus or Triceratops. But evolution does not operate according to appearances. It operates according to ancestry. From that perspective, birds are dinosaurs in exactly the same way humans are mammals. The connection is not metaphorical, it is biological. The next time a bird lands on a fence or walks across a parking lot, it is worth remembering how long that story really is. The animal in front of you is the product of a lineage that survived mass extinctions, continental shifts, climate changes, and more than 200 million years of evolution. Its ancestors lived alongside giant predators and enormous herbivores. Some of those ancestors were themselves feathered dinosaurs running through Jurassic forests. Others were small hunters navigating ecosystems that no longer exist. The shrinking of dinosaurs was not a single event. It was a gradual process spread across countless generations. It began long before the asteroid impact. It continued through the evolution of feathers and flight. It ultimately produced the only dinosaurs that survived into the modern world. That is why the question of when dinosaurs became small does not have a simple answer. Some dinosaurs were small from the very beginning. Others evolved toward larger sizes. But the lineage that eventually became birds spent millions of years moving in the opposite direction. It became smaller, lighter, and more specialized. In the end, those changes mattered more than anyone could have predicted. When the world changed suddenly, the giants disappeared. The smaller descendants remained. 66 million years later, they are still here, flying above cities, nesting in forests, and living in every continent on Earth. The age of giant dinosaurs ended long ago. The age of dinosaurs themselves never really did.